Welcome along to another edition of This Racing Life, and it's a Wales special this week as we are in the Vale of Glamorgan visiting trainers Evan Williams and Christian Williams. And first up, Evan Williams alongside his family, including his jockey daughters Izzy and Ellie, and they're all making a fantastic start to their new season.
I started off across the way on a tenanted farm, and you know, we trained pointers there, and that went well after milking cows for God knows how many years. And we just got to this situation where we had to go somewhere or develop somewhere, and I was very fortunate. I bought a piece of land off my neighbour, who's always been a great supporter of ours, and managed to swap some land with a cousin of mine, and it just all came together then, really.
And at that time, you mentioned cattle farming and the point-to-pointing. Was the life of horse racing something that you thought was something that you could be a part of, or did it feel like it's somewhere very far away?
Oh, very far away. I mean, we used to, you know, we were heavily involved always with point-to-pointing, and you know, my grandparents always had a pointer and bred pointers, and you know, my parents rode point-to-point winners and plenty of them. But, you know, as far as racing under rules was concerned, it was just a completely different world to us, you know, and it's hard to get through really to the younger generation that when I was their age, that, you know, a day out to Hereford or Chepstow was like going to the end of the world, really.
Well, I think it started with foot and mouth, and we didn't have much of a choice, really, and Evan was still riding at the time. And it went from there, really. So we had about 10, 12 horses in, and he'd won the point-to-point championship. And it just sort of grew from there, and Evan sort of had a horse called Bangalore off Amanda Perrott to train, or pre-train, and that went on to win the Northumberland Plate and Chester Vase, and we decided to take a licence out because he didn't basically have the 10% of the winnings.
And from that point onwards, obviously, you get one good horse, and that kind of allows you to roll and get more horses, more owners, and build. So this place, was it very quick and sudden?
Yes, it was very sudden. It went from sort of like 10, 20 horses to 100 horses pretty sharp, yes. I
was very lucky that in between sort of everything with when I was riding as an amateur, I did get the odd glint from some very good people. Rod Simpson came to Newport to train, and I spent plenty of time there with him, and underneath all the, you know, colourful jumpers, he was a very, very shrewd operator and a very clever man as far as placing his horses was concerned. And I had a few rides and a few winners for Rod, and, you know, I spent enough time there really to have a small inkling of how the job should be done.
And you obviously had a natural ability riding horses, but also a love of horses as well. So it felt like, would it be fair to say, a new challenge that you felt that you were completely capable of making the most of?
I always felt comfortable around horses and animals, and the cows, to be a success at that job, you had to have a massive passion for it. And I didn't really have the passion that I had for the horses. And it became increasingly obvious that where my passion lied was with the horses. And, you know, when I started to think that you could earn a living from doing that job, that's the way I wanted to go.
The story of one of your first horses, and the first horse to win the Grade 1, costing 700 guineas at the time, that's quite remarkable, really, when you think back on it. How did that all come about?
Well, we always bought horses, you know. I always bought cattle, and you know, when I started training, I bought horses, and I bought Sunray for 700 guineas in Doncaster. I don't know why I bought him, but I bought him because I thought he was a horse we could run. And, you know, we lifted a Grade 1 on a local track in Chepstow. But at the time, I didn't know what we were doing. I went to Leicester to try and win a cellar that day. So, you know, you have to learn on the job, as it were. But one of our strengths has always been we've never been scared to go and put our hand in our pocket and back our judgment buying horses. And I would say that's what's, you know, got us a good horse every now and then. Look, I've spent huge budgets on plenty of horses that have turned out to be no good. You know, so the man who can stand and say that they've got everything right when you're buying horses is just telling fibs, because, you know, some of them work, most of them don't. But when you get an idea in your head what you're trying to look for, at least you can stick to your guns, and when it goes wrong, admit that it was a bad decision, and when it goes right, at least you can feel a little bit confident that you do get it right sometimes.
And season after season, you probably had new challenges, new owners, but you've also had some very loyal owners as well that you've been able to probably work with and come up with new ideas and think of different things and enjoy that process with them.
Yeah, we, at the end of the day, have been blessed with the owners that we've had here. And nobody can do it unless you've got owners who are with you through the bad times and through the times when things do go wrong and the times when you do buy a bad horse for too much money. And I've always had a lot of confidence that their belief in me has given me the chance to go forward. And no man or lady can train racehorses unless they've got a very solid, loyal bunch of owners. Nobody.
Yeah, and they've been part of that enjoyment, as is your family, and that's been the nicest part of today for me, is to speak to every single member who all have their own role. Yeah. From Will in the office to Kath, who's been by your side ever since day one, and now your two daughters. You must be incredibly proud of what you've built alongside them.
Well, it sounds silly, but I don't really get that thought. Do you know what I mean? Of course, I'm proud of all of the help that I've had with them, and I don't think now. I'm 50 now, and I can think back and realise that without them, it wouldn't have meant as much as it does, you know. But we are always looking to the future. I think that's one of our strengths. You know, as a family, we never concentrate too much on the bad days or the good days. We're always looking to go forward. And I mean, there's so much we can do to improve the place and to improve the results that I try not to get too sentimental about it all, you know.
You say that, but then obviously a couple of weeks ago when Izzy partnered on Levant in such a brilliant fashion at Haydock, that was quite a sentimental day, because it all probably just becomes quite real to you in that moment.
Well, it hit me like a thunderbolt, really.
Yeah.
You know, I was very, very emotional. In fact, I was more than emotional. Do you know what I mean? It really did hit me that day, and I suppose, as you say, it was a combination of loads of things. You know, we all have flashbacks. We all, you know, want our children to do well, don't we? But I think it was just the moment, and I suppose, as you said, the proud feeling that you get inside as a parent. And there's no point in trying to fight things like that. I probably am guilty of fighting a lot of emotion and trying to suppress it and trying to, be stiff up a lip and old-fashioned about it, but I couldn't hold anything back that day, and I'm glad I couldn't.
It was great that he won in Haydock. He'd been hitting the crossbar, really. He'd been running really, really great races, but just not winning. So I was glad then that he got his big day.
He ran very well in Foslas in the Welsh champion hurdle, where it looked like all he needed to do was stay. Is that what you got off and said to Dad afterwards?
Well, he ran a great race, and we were if anything, we were getting slightly frustrated, because I read the close-up comments and they said given too much to do, and I thought, I can understand, you know, by the way he's ridden, why it can seem that way, but. Yeah, look, he's a horse that needs to be held up, and you can only ask him to quicken once. So if you ask him to quicken earlier on in the race, you won't have him to finish. So that's just the way he needs to be ridden. But it all came off on the right day, so it's fine.
And your dad was full of praise and obviously quite emotional as well. He said that your brilliant partnership together, which you're seemingly able to get at the moment with your horses, you're striking up really good bonds. So do you look back on your rides and think how you can improve and get to know these horses better, so you're doing a better job every time?
Yeah, we're lucky that I'm lucky that I get to ride them out every day. So I mean, you school them and you ride them in work, so you get an idea of what they may be like on the racetrack.
And plans for Dans Levant now? He went up a few pounds, as he should do, but he's clearly quite unexposed now as a staying type. So the options are now there for him.
Well, I'll leave that up to Dad, but yeah, I will probably keep him at 3 miles now. Where he'll go, I'm not sure, but look, he's had his day in the sun now, so anything extra is a bonus.
We've been very lucky that we've always had a lot of boys and girls come here to get their first steps into racing. And I mean, lots of Irish lads, I mean, some very successful lads. I mean, Sean Flanagan and Jody McGarvey and Donald Fahey from Ireland, and John Flavin's doing very well. And then loads of Welsh boys. We're very lucky that, you know, all of them have been here at some stage, you know. Yeah. And I enjoy working with those young people. I enjoy seeing them come here, and I enjoy seeing them progress, but I get a lot more satisfaction when they go on to do better things when they've gone elsewhere, and it makes you feel at least you've done something to help them in their career.
I suppose we've been brought up in it. It's always been, horses have been around forever, and it's amazing to grow up here and be able to be here every day. It's all we want to do anyway, so it's nice to have it on our doorstep.
And your family bond is so obvious the moment you come in here. Dad, brother, mum, sisters, everywhere. Does that make it that much more rewarding and special?
Yeah, it does. Like when I see my sister ride a winner, it's amazing, and it's just a bit more like we're all in it together. And even like the members of staff, we've had people here for like 10, 11 years, and it's just, we're all like one big family, really. It's really good.
And as the youngest, but also with a sister that's really close in age as well, did you always look up to her and think, we'll do this together and we'll be at it together, and becoming jockeys has been something that you've done really in unison?
Yeah, definitely. We've taken kind of different roads to get to where we are now, but yeah, she's always been she's been really helpful. She's always supported me in whatever I wanted to do, whether I went to university, she supported me in that. Everything I've done, she's been really supportive, and so have my parents and my brother, so it's really nice.
Yeah, it's good fun. We enjoy doing it together. We've been quite inseparable really all our lives, but yeah, we enjoy the horses, we enjoy working together, and yeah, I wouldn't really want to do it with anyone else other than my family, so I'm grateful that we can all do it together.
Because we're a close family outside of the business as well, it was always going to be involved somewhere anyway. But it was nice to be able to do this as well for Dad and for Mum, and it obviously helps as well that you know, we are family, we all sort of stick together. But it just does help that it's all on site. We all know where we are with everything, rather than having a check on if Dad needs to be home to work horses or with the horses, I can go racing for him then. Because we all know the owners as well, because it's obviously the family. It does help in that regard, because everyone knows you as well. So if I can go racing for him, which frees him up to be at home with working the horses, then everyone's winning really.
In terms of the horses that you've got here, you've got about 80 at the moment stabled, and quality is all there, but you've got some young horses, but you've got the sort of staying horses, the handicappers, the ones that Ellie can go and sit on as well. There's a bit of something for everything here.
Well, we try to. I mean, we try to cater for everybody, really, because, I mean, not everybody has the deep pockets to go and spend a lot of money on a fancy, nice 4-year-old that's won an Irish point-to-point. Not everybody has the patience to buy a store horse. I mean, a lot of people want to go racing on a wet Wednesday to Ludlow or Taunton, you know, and we'll always find a horse, and we'll always find a horse for somebody who's coming into the sport to start on. And I think that's part of, you know, the attraction, really. We can cater for any rider and any owner, and everybody wants something different. Yeah,
and you personally must have been, and all your family have said the same, very satisfied by this time last year getting that Welsh national winner as a proud Welsh man, and it was gutting that secret referee couldn't get into the national, but that race feels like you, of all trainers that have got so close, hit the crossbar, that must be one race that you'd love to tick off at some point.
Well, it was strange, because when we started, it was a mythical race, you know. Posey Morell had trained Limonali to win a couple of Welsh nationals. She trained right down by the airport. And Denzel Jenkins had trained Norther, who my father rode point-to-point winners, which is the most boring old story which I've had to listen to all my life, and he trained across the way there. And I suppose it was just a race which had been, you know, ingrained in me from a very young age, and I couldn't win it. And I wanted to win it, and when I won it, it was of all the big races that we've been lucky enough to win, it was the one that really, really did sort of mean a tremendous amount to me. So, yeah, it was nice to get the monkey off our back.
I think the Welsh National for all of us was almost, it wasn't a relief, but it was just amazing. Like, for Dad to do it, it's something he's always wanted, it's something we've always talked about, and to just find that horse and that horse found us is amazing. I think the Grand National now is one that we all kind of set our hopes on. We've done well in it in the past, and it's almost like, it's not impossible, but it's kind of one of those things you think, oh, we'd love to, but we know how hard it is as well to even get a horse to run in the race, let alone win it.
I know everyone always wants to win the Grand National, but I'd say that is Dad's biggest aim. It's been his aim for a long time. We've had seconds, thirds, and fourths, so we've hit the crossbar a good few times. But I think if everything go well with Secret of Achieve, he is moulded into a lovely horse that could possibly have a very good career, especially over the national fences. I think he obviously aims to go for the Welsh National this year now, but obviously ground dependent. But that would be the plan, but the Grand National would be his aim. I think we were a bit gutty he didn't get in last year, but everything does happen for a reason. So someone may have looked down on us and said, no, not this year, we'll go again next year. So that would be the main aim, I believe. Well, I know it's the main belief. Yeah.
I'd love to win everything. I really would. But if I don't, I do get an awful lot of comfort of seeing lads, Christian and Peter Bowen. I mean, I had so much connection with them through the pointing and when we started. And then, you know, John Flint and Rebecca Curtis, Timmy Vaughan across the way. I mean, Dave Evans, brilliant on the flat. And, you know, everybody in Wales, I love to see them do well. And the lads riding now, I think they're a great bunch of lads. I rode with all of their fathers in point-to-points. You know, it's always been a breeding ground for lads who could ride, but to see, you know, all of those great lads now winning big races and being embraced by, you know, the wider training public, it does make me feel that we've been doing something right.
Next up, we're off to see Christian Williams, who as a jockey rode over 100 winners for Evan Williams. And now as a trainer, he's based 10 minutes down the valley at Ogmore by Sea at his incredibly unique setup.
Yeah, certainly a bit different to other places. Just be more natural here. I've obviously got the river, the sea, the beach, common land then, just all within walking distance. We're lucky it's so close to the yard.
And you showed us where you were born, which is literally 100 yards away. So you must have seen this place from a young age and known that it could have the potential to potentially train horses. Did you ever think about it like that?
I think when you go into sport, you want to be at the top of your game. So when I was a jockey, I wanted to be the best rider. I wanted to be champion jockey. So I didn't even think about training until I retired then. So only really got pushed into the training. I used to work for Di Walters, was very good to me starting off, and he forced me into going on to a course, trainer's course, and it just snowballed from there.
So that was only sort of 5-6 years ago when you did retire, and at that point, did you have any people giving you guidance as what to do next, or was it really think again, need to
Not too bad, yeah. I think the boys are lucky now, and it's probably seen differently now, but Jets years ago, the Jockey's Employment Training Scheme, you never really used to use it because I always used to think you were showing a bit of weakness, that you were thinking outside of your racing, so you try and, but I think it's different now. Boys and the girls, they got everything in place now for when they retire, but when I finished, I literally didn't know what to do. And
you obviously had this facility as your parents and goes way back as well, and you talk about being the best jockey. You obviously could see around here that this was a pretty amazing place to train horses. So
yeah, we're lucky. I think we moved back here 3 years ago with 3 horses, and it's just gotten bigger since then. But now we're lucky. I managed to get a licence here. The BHA were brilliant, told us what we needed to do, and yeah, not really a stopgap. But the business has grown nicely, and yeah, it's been great.
And obviously the variety that you've got means that you can be pretty bespoke with how you train horses. Is that something that you pride yourself in, just having individual attention for their needs?
Yeah, maybe not too bad. I used to train at Di Walters on a 3-foot on carpet gallop. We used to get good results there, so you just adapt to your training facilities. Obviously, when I moved home then, you're training a horse on deep sand compared to a carpet gallop, so you need to go a lot quicker on a carpet gallop, and we seem to do well with stay-in chases here. I'm not sure if that's the type of horse we buy or whether the training, the way we train them, turns them into. I think it's a bit old school what they used to do years ago, what we do down here, and we obviously do it because they're the facilities we've got. But if we had a sharper, quicker gallop, we'd obviously train differently then.
Yeah, it's very steady work I can see here, but obviously you knew Paul Nichols's gallop very well as well, keeping horses very, very fit. Seems like you've got a bit of a good blend of that, and you can improve horses as well, it seems too.
Yeah, not too bad with improving horses, but you just need the right type of horses. When you've got good improving horses, you know, they're the horse to get you Saturday winners, and they get progressive then, and they keep winning then through confidence, like any athlete or even outside the sport. When things are going your way, you seem to, you wake up in the morning differently and things seem to go right for you. But now we're lucky.
And in terms of when you're a younger trainer setting up and want to get your name on the map, we've seen it with lots of new trainers that they want to run horses a lot, get your name out there. Has that always been part of the plan, or do you just think horses need to run a lot because they're fit and they're ready to go?
Yeah, we seem to be lucky with that. It's other trainers don't seem to run them as often, but Strictly a Dancer, using him as an example this year, he went to Chepstow. The first Cheltenham meeting won, second Cheltenham meeting won, and then run 7 days later then at Haydock in a valuable handicap and ATV. So he's obviously the type of horse that thrived on his racing. But that's the way we feel is the best way to do it. But if you spoke to a different trainer, they probably think differently. It doesn't mean we're right, and it obviously worked with Strictly a Dancer. We run Potter's Corner back quick. He ran the same day as Strictly won. We run him back in the same race at Haydock, and he ran disappointing. So it obviously worked for Strictly. Didn't quite work for Potter's Corner, but Strictly's on. Strictly's going the right way, and Potter's Corner's probably going the wrong way. So
he was a horse I want to mention that obviously gave you that moment to really establish yourself at that time, and was that the moment that you suddenly went from the 6 or 7 horses to the 20 odd horses in the?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Potter's Corner was a great horse, been brilliant, and we're obviously winding him down a little bit now, thinking what he's going to be doing in the future. But it's been a wonderful horse, and to win a Welsh National, Welsh Owners, Chepstow, Jack riding him, it'd be hard to probably only a Grand National or a Gold Cup could better that. But it was a wonderful day.
Potter probably came at probably near the end of our first season, and going into the second season, he was probably the one that just got us out there and got us on the main TV, and luckily he's probably done a brilliant job for me and Christian and the whole yard, and he's definitely got more horses to the yard through Potter.
We were always buying the not solds at the sales, and horses with little problems, but it's great now to go into sales and buying a nicer type of horse. But we certainly try and target ITV races. We all sit down at the start of the year, Nicky, my brother, Jack, owners. We sit down at the start of the year and try and think what can win on ITV for us, because that's just raises your profile. All the owners watching, the audience is a lot bigger, and if they can win on ITV, what races can they win, and what we need to do before we get to put them in the best possible position to win that race. But then horses just pop out of nowhere. Then, like, if you came here a month ago and asked me for 20 horses to follow out to 28, Strictly a Dancer wouldn't have been in the top 20. So for the 2 horses this year, it's been Strictly a Dancer and Mas have been the feature horses this year for me, and you would never pick them out at the start of the season. So,
do you see yourself at this point now, looking at what you've got in the space that you have? That expansion it's happening. The owners are sending you horses. You want to buy the bigger horses, and literally staying here might not be physically possible. Have you been thinking about?
Yeah, it looks that way. It looks that way now, and any trainer my age who says they only want 20 or 30 horses, and if someone rang them up and offered them 20 or 30 top class horses on top of what they already got, they'd want to take them and need to take them. So yeah, hopefully the business will keep growing, and perhaps you'll have to move on, and just want to keep getting competitive, and probably need a bigger number of horses to achieve what we're looking to achieve. You take horses years ago, you probably wouldn't take them now that they're not quite good enough, and obviously everyone wants to raise the standard of their yard, and Evan Williams is a great example to people like me that I've seen what he started off with, and You know, he's always good for his advice. I speak to him on a regular basis, rode a lot of winners for him. And yeah, and he's shown that it can happen in Wales. You know, that you've got your Lambourns, your Newmarket, your Midland and your Malton, but Wales is turning into a big training centre now. You've got jockeys, trainers. It's all happening in Wales.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's certainly, as you say, the jockeys are doing particularly well. In terms of sourcing horses, we touched on the cheaper ones, but you've been to the sales, you've gone with bigger owners with bigger budgets as well. Do you feel like that's come off the base of this success?
No, it's great to be able to look at those horses. We wouldn't even, when we came across the winners and the good pedigrees by the good stallions, we'd always flick the page and wouldn't even bother trotting them up because we knew we couldn't afford them. So it's great to be able to buy those horses. We can see the horses that win the big races, and they're big, strong. You know, same with the days of the smaller rugby players. They're all the big teams now. They're all big brutes, and you know, running Kitty's Light in the Hennessy was a rude awakening to the size and the good horses and how big and strong they are. So it's great to be able to buy them, and you just hope then that they work out. Obviously, every horse, and doesn't matter the price budget, needs luck through his career to stay sound and etc. So fingers crossed they'll work out. We bought 3 in France, and we bought 3 at the Cheltenham Tattersall sale. So just hope they work out. They're obviously nice, good specimens, horses, good pedigrees.
The French link is also a place that you like running horses as well. You've been successful. Is that because you see them as good opportunities, or are you looking for prize money and things like that, and giving the owners the experience that perhaps that they might not get over here?
Yeah, we had a great, like Potter's Corner's owned by 10 or 12 people, and we had a wonderful day. We caught the plane from Cardiff Airport, and as soon as we met, we started laughing. We didn't stop laughing until we landed, and it was a great trip. And then we took Win My Wings last year. She won at Cheltenham quite well, and then there was a mare's handicap hurdle at Compiègne, and she won that well, good prize money, and most of my owners are good. The prize money that she won, the owners automatically went and bought another horse for me, so probably wouldn't have been able to do that with the English prize money, but the owners like to, the best racing's in this country, and the owners like to be able to go and watch their horses run in this country, and obviously come to the yard and visit their horses, and so
if it's all about the big profile, big days, then the things like the Cheltenham Festival and Aintree festivals, those big festival days, will we see more of them from Christian Williams runners coming into the spring?
Yeah, we always find, like, Potter's Corner we thought was well handicapped when he won a Midlands National. We could have run him at Cheltenham, he'd have probably finished 8th or 9th, but we went to the Midlands National 2 days later, more prize money and a lesser race, and still a great profile from that. So, and Cheltenham's a tough place, we find. The horses galloping up and down, they run to the maximum of you obviously aim to. I think when you get X amount of number of horses, you can try and go to the Cheltenham Festival and try and win. But where we are at the moment is, there's great prize money around, good meetings, just before Cheltenham, just after Cheltenham, Racing Post Chase. Captain Ord last year could have run in the Kim Muir, and for example, and instead went to Racing Post Chase or Sky Bet Chase, and probably got a better chance of winning, and winning still a good race. Yeah. But now, of course, you strive for the Cheltenham Festival, probably when we get a bigger number of horses, maybe.
Well, you're obviously buying for the future, plus having a lot of the great sort of backbone of the whole idea. It's still here and doing well. So it sounds like keeping up that profile, keeping raising the name of Christian Williams, but with a really young, excited team as well. It seems like everyone here there's not a huge amount of people, but they're doing so much hard work day in and day out, and that's what you're evoking off to them all. Yeah,
no, they're brilliant. Yeah, you'd be obviously stuck without them. And no, you couldn't, if I started naming them, miss someone out, but they're all brilliant, and I don't really, as you can see, I don't really need to be here. It's the yard still, the energy they bring in, they're great, and obviously grateful for that.
Thank you to everyone involved in this edition of This Racing Life. Join us again next week for another episode.